All right, so I'll let you enjoy and look at it, and then I want to share a little bit of a story about it. And yeah, take this off.
Drum roll.
And I will turn it around.
No, I never saw that.
Wow. That's beautiful.
That was nice.
Just like a person, you know, where they do this and they turn it around. So
Wow.
as sculpture needs to be seen in the round, or you know, I'll put it in the middle of the room so you can walk around it. So, well, first of all, Dan, can I introduce you? Not to like put you in the spotlight, but I will. Please.
You want me to come over there?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, all right.
So, I wouldn't be in this space if it weren't for this man and his family. Yeah, Dan is a fellow artist and very good friend, even though sometimes we like. Yeah, but the building here belongs to his family, and we connected because a number of years ago, Maker Lab, a business, developed in the front of the building, and some volunteer work that I did led to getting involved here, and then the progress of the story. My welding space is there, and it's still his family's building, and here I am. So, I wanted to, to say thank you. I'm like super appreciative that I can have a welding space right here in NDG, like a few blocks from my house. I don't think there's another welder in the neighborhood. And it's really
That cannot
nice.
do like you.
It's what's nice that happens is people walk through the alleyway, and when the door is open, people drop by. So it's a very interactive kind of space, and yet people are very respectful, and they see artists at work, so they let me work. I'll just have a few things to say. Yeah, thanks for coming. So you know, my name is Mona. Some of you know me as an art therapist, and my career, which you know blossomed, and for 25 years was at the Jewish General Hospital. And in 2014, I stopped doing that. I'd always had my hands in the world of sculpture, but when you decide to change your path and do things the way you want, even more so, well, what I did was I got to do my artwork all the time. I truly never imagined becoming a full-fledged artist, and well, as you can see, it's sort of getting more serious and bigger and more, yeah, I'm like pushing myself further and further and further. So you may know that some of my work from the past was figurative. It was realistic models in the middle of the room and working in clay and making molds and people from little pieces right up to life size. And I always realized I could see in the round, hey Mike, come on in, you see in the round very easily, but metal was my intrigue. I always wanted to try it out anyways. As some of you may know, my dad was a machinery dealer and sold big machines. Well, some of them are hidden, but just for example, these were little industrial machines, but the machines were bigger than this room. And so the grunge of the metal and the industrial, that oily smell, the aesthetic of hundreds of machines in aisleways, this is what I was exposed to all the time. And my dad sculpted and painted, his father painted, but none of them sold pieces, it was just for the pleasure. My sister, not here yet, delved completely into the world of photography. My brother's heavily into music, so we have a theater person in the family, so I guess we reek art. and it's encouraged, which is, I'm very fortunate, because a lot of families, I'm sure you've been told, going, yeah, go do something else with your time. So when I turned 50, I had finally come across a welding course that was offered in West Rutland, Vermont. And instead of throwing a party, I decided to go spend a week in West Rutland, where finally there was an artistic sculpture class taught. Yep, they can get through. Cool. So I took that class, and by about day 3, you're welding, and you're being introduced to a lot of equipment, and going to a scrap metal yard to pick up materials and learn how to assemble, and it just seemed natural for me. And then when I came back to Montreal, it was like, now what? I don't have a space to work. But eventually the garage that I had where I lived became a workspace. And then when I didn't have that, I found this, and all the equipment is here that I've learned to use. And fortunate because some of the equipment was owned by Maker Lab, so I get the benefit. And I've just, a lot of the metal that I have, if you go into that section, are things that come from a scrap metal yard, or things that people give me. I get phone calls all the time. You know, there's such and such in an alleyway. I'm throwing out some old nails. I found this at a barn sale. So people drop things off at the door, or they call me, or I go get them. It's fun. This piece, though, so if you look on my website, and if you come to where I have a showroom, pieces were small. But now, when I was asked to make a sculpture for some people who live in Ottawa for their home, they wanted something big, they wanted something to be put outside, and they wanted something that was original, obviously. The couple, who, they can't be here, but they've seen the finished piece, and they're very excited to receive it on Sunday. They're super active, skiing, canoeing, swimming, they love to garden, and I know the husband is the brother of a childhood friend of mine. So when they asked me to make a piece, as I've learned, if you're going to get a commission from somebody, you want to communicate with them a lot, you want to get to know the people, you want to get a sense of what's going to fit in their home physically and also mood-wise. And then you're left scratching your head like, what the hell do I do? And you can see some drawings. Hi, Lynn. My sister is here. Come on in if you want. So there's some drawings on the other table that show some very rough sketches of ideas. But what I wanted to share with you is I felt I wanted to do something with nature for them. I wanted to do something that was very organic, and literally, like a tree, the piece just grew step by step. I started it in November, and there was like a lot of struggles with this thing because I was able to work and do some branches a little bit similar to some other things I've done, or if you look at the piano piece, there's some vines there. Basically, I ended up getting a lot of rods of steel, some of which are on a rack. The challenge was learning how to do the bark. And just to show you, technically, sorry, I'm just going to bring this over. Like, I wanted to make a tree trunk, which I started out with something straight. And so I put what's called an armature inside this. And I knew I had to have circles to give it sort of a structure in which, like, to line up the popsicle sticks to build on. And I started using all my scrap metal, because that's what I do. And then I thought, oh my God, I can't believe how much time this is taking. And I was totally bored with this and thought, nope, gotta start again. So anyhow, an evolution began. So in here are loops. So there's a circle here, 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 and down there. And that gave me the beginning of the form. I drew it out on paper, so there was a big paper here. And basically, rod by rod, steel. There are different sizes. I just started tacking them on with the welding equipment. Dan would always come over and we would do exactly this, just like stare at it, talk about it, going, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But here it is, it's finished. The circle came from another sculpture. This was already in the sculpture, there were some other details, and Marion and Bruce, the couple who this is for, they liked that piece, so I pulled that piece out from my collection, took it apart. Marion gave me these two hands as I was leaving their house in Ottawa, and she said, if you feel like putting this in the sculpture, feel free, but don't feel you have to. So that's why that got included. But I didn't know where I was going with the whole thing. It literally, like a tree, it just grew and took on its own life. The glass comes from Revelstoke, BC. I was out west visiting my daughter, and she brought me to a glass shop. And I had a feeling there needed to be a pop of color. And when I saw these little glass remnants, which come from glowing glasses, drinking glasses, I thought, I think this is gonna work. And then technically the challenge of getting them on there. What else can I say? I can say that this is spring. There's little buds. This is winter. There's a little bit of fall, and then you've got summer. So there's other little stories, I guess, in it, but that's up for the viewer, like to see what they want. I don't really have an official title yet, but my unofficial title is Tree I Am. That's the words that sort of come to mind at this point, but I really don't think this piece needs a title, because it's just sort of has its own strain. I don't know if you have any questions, or you just, yeah, feel free
It
to
looks
ask.
like the tree of life.
Oh, all right.
I wanted to put tree and season together, but then you get treason, and I don't know.
Mona, I remember when you started, and it was like a straight rod, remember? It was like, there was the ring and the straight rod, and it was like, it's amazing to watch how it contorted and became these things. Pretty cool. You know, very like you're saying, it's organic growth, but it started off as like very, you've come a long way with that, like since November.
Yeah,
You know,
it was very stiff at first and uninteresting. And I kept thinking Bruce and Marion like to ski, and if they could, they would like zip down the hill really fast. So I didn't want to put skiers literally, but I was like, can you imagine you'd go flying down the hill? So
That would be
I don't know where you find
those things.
yeah,
Just get some little skiers down there.
yeah. Now this piece was initially built to be going outside the front of their home, but it's moving inside where there's kind of a atrium, I guess it's called, or they nicknamed it the pit. And there's soil in a rectangle, and right now they're building a tower of bricks so that this will sit on top, and then they will do something else to kind of see how the rest of to landscape the piece, so they'll have more, it's going to evolve more, and the sun hits it directly. There's a stairwell that goes around, and you'll see it from the top, so I think the glass will have much better lighting, and then we'll see.
So you post photos of it when it's installed?
Yes, when it's installed, we'll have to, a photographer that I know well named Linda Rutenberg took some photos of it last week. We had a great day. We took over 100 pictures. We'll pick the best, 8 or so close-ups, etc. So, so it's been properly photographed. But yes, to see the finality of how it relates in their environment will be very interesting. It'll change. Yeah. So, yeah.
You've been working on this since November.
Yes. Not every day. Like, I was busy doing
Lots
other
of
things.
days.
Pardon?
Lots of days.
Lots of days. And so much attempts of trial and error. I'd never worked this way before. The branches take an incredible amount of time going through.
Machine.
Yeah, different machine. I had to have a professional welder come here after the whole thing tipped over, and then the circle came off, and I thought, I'm doing something wrong. So he said, of course, your machine's too small. So now we pulled out the big gun. I was gonna say, if you speak Yiddish, macher. And now that upped the quality of the well. It's got to, listen, it's being transported in a truck. It won't move. It won't break.
Did you ever calculate how many hours you?
It's about 150. I kept track because you want to know if what you ask them to pay is worth what you put in. And then that helps you, so when you do the next big piece, you can just have a ballpark. Yeah. Kind of figure.
And you counted the hours where you had to start over
Everything.
everything.
Plus materials, plus unexpected surprises, such as all of us are finding out, like the base, which should be about $50 of steel, was now $100. So things have doubled up. So materials are more costly. And then my next surprise is the truck that I'm getting to use on Sunday. I get a phone call and it's almost double the price because the company made a mistake. So it's just all part of it. But as I hope to do more big pieces and bigger, like I'll get more savvy in how to figure all this out. And it's just a common problem of making things for people. Just like if you were doing your kitchen and you go, oh, it'll be $8,000. Next thing you know, it's 21. So
What does it weigh?
Yeah.
Oh no, how much does it weigh?
Mike
Approximately.
and I will find out on Sunday, but about 150 pounds, I think. Yeah. And initially, I was able to lift this up and just hoist it up on the table and work on it. And then the base came and I was like, oh no, I can't do this anymore. Yeah.
I'm thinking this dog is eyeballing that shrink. Let me try out.
She's a girl, so she doesn't pee that way.
Oh, no,
But
okay.
actually, it's a good question. It's been sprayed with waterproofing, although I don't know what yours would do. But because if this did get wet or with humidity, it would start to rust, which could be gorgeous. But the couple asked for it not to rust, so this has been sprayed with a sealant. So yeah,
And it's gonna be indoors,
it's
so.
gonna be indoor, but still there's humidity in the house, so I'm sure parts of it will change. I couldn't spray every square inch, but this is why there's a slight glaze on it, and it darkened even a little bit. Anyways, yeah,
Very
so.
cool. Very cool.
Beautiful.
I'm just gonna pull it over here so you can mingle, but feel free to have some wine and. I will post the pictures that Linda took in a few days, so that because it's very hard to capture
Oh, yeah,
well.
I guess if you're doing it well.